What's going on, guys? Charge it up here in the garage with the R6. Today's video, let's go ahead and do an oil change on it. Let's go. Alright guys, for those who have not been watching my channel, this is the 2020 Yamaha R6. It currently has 6,500 kilometers on the odometer, and when it comes to the oil counter, which I use as trip number 2, I am currently at 4,900 kilometers since the last oil change. I usually do an oil change between 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers. I would recommend not going over the 5,000 kilometer limit. I mean, come on, get an oil change done for your bike. Keep it nice and healthy. Okay, so with the oil odometer range at 4,900, obviously it's a perfect time to get an oil change done. Not only that, but obviously it's the off season as well. Winter time, so why not get an oil change done and get it ready for next season? You want to follow your periodic maintenance chart that is located on your bike's owner's manual. Everything's in there. First oil change, second oil change, blah 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 blah. You know, maintenance wise, everything's in there. Follow that. If there's anyone looking for the first oil change ever done on the R6, I'll put the link in the top right hand corner. I did that quite a while ago. Okay, so step 1 will obviously be to remove the left side fairing because we need to get everything behind it. I'm gonna go ahead and do that and then come right back and continue on with the video. All right, so the left side fairing is now off. As you can see, we need to get at the oil drain plug, which is right over here. And we also need to get the oil filter, which is right here. Now with the fairing being there, you can't get at it because obviously the fairing comes across here. And you also need to remove the shift shaft, which I'll get to in a second. All right, so now that the left side fairing is off, we can go ahead and go on to step number 2, and that is to run the bike between 3 to 5 minutes to get everything nice and warm. Get that bike up to operating temperature to get that oil nice and warm so it'll flow out of there nice and easy. Step number 3, while you're turning the bike on and letting the bike run, you can actually go around the bike and just check nuts and bolts, right? You can go check the nut, check different nuts here and there, check the different bolts of everything else on the bike, just to make sure that there's nothing actually coming loose or that has come loose while riding and through the vibrations and stuff. I have seen a couple of fairings actually fly off on the highway because people just don't actually double check their bolts and everything else. And that's obviously just sucks because, I mean, who knows what will happen if something flies off on the highway or while riding in general. Now, after you obviously check the nuts and bolts, you could also check the signals. You can check the signals, the headlights, and the brake lights to make sure everything is working properly. You can get a lot of stuff done between the 3 to 5 minute mark while it's warming up. All right, so let's go ahead and take off the shift shaft. If it's a stock R6, all you need is a size 10 wrench. You actually go over to this bolt right here, you loosen it, and then this comes off, and then you can just pull it out to get it out of the way. However, I do have the quick shifter on here, and so because I have the quick shifter, this bolt right here, if I undo it, it won't matter because this portion is actually longer and stiffer than the actual stock one. So what I'll do instead is put this down. I will actually remove the rubber seal right there. We're gonna get at this with the size 4 Allen key, take that bolt out, and then that way this entire portion, I can move it over just enough to get at the filter. All right, so now that that bolt is gone, I can just simply move this out of the way here, like so. Let's just get this out of the way here for a second. Move that portion up here, and then that gives me space to get at the oil filter. Let's go ahead and get at the oil drain plug right there. So you can either use a size 17 wrench or a size 17 socket. I'm gonna use the wrench right here. Let's go ahead and get this done here. Go, and then by hand we'll just let this drop and let the oil flow. As the oil is now draining, we're gonna get at the oil filter as well. I actually went ahead and moved these 2 rubber hoses that were actually coming down beside it just so I can have more access to the oil filter. We'll take the oil filter wrench, put that on like so, and we got our 3/8 wrench. Shouldn't be very hard at all to undo this because it shouldn't be on that tight in the first place. And there we go. As you can see, now there's oil flowing from there because it is loose. And now we're gonna go ahead and remove it entirely. Okay, that is removed. We're gonna let it sit right over here. All right, so while this is all draining out, I'm actually gonna move over to the chain. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and clean and lube it, obviously, while this is going on. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so as you can see, I am using my rear stand, which is on the lift, to lift up the back of the bike. 2 reasons I'm doing this. Number 1 is because if I lift up the back of the bike, it allows me to put my 6-inch oil drain pan underneath it. Otherwise, it'll just be touching it really, really tight. So that's number 1. Reason number 2 is obviously, as I mentioned, while this is draining, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the chain, clean and lube it, and that way the rear tire can rotate around. And actually, you know what? Maybe there's a third. It actually helps the oil to actually drain forward a little bit. You lift up the back a tiny bit, and it helps the oil drain towards the drain plug. All right, let's go ahead and clean the chain while the oil is draining out there. So what I'm gonna do is simply just do some contact cleaner on a rag, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and clean. As you can see immediately, look how much dirt is on there. So let's go ahead and clean the chain. And as I'm cleaning the chain, I'm actually going to clean the sprocket as well as I'm turning it. All right, and so we've come to the other side of the chain and we've gone all the way around. Once I clean the outside portion and on both sides, I actually come over to this side as well. And this way I can get the inside as it rolls and then go all the way around as well. And then just move it along as you clean it. All right guys, so that is done. That is nice and clean. Now I'm not gonna do any adjustments right now because, I'll tell you why, I am gonna do a thorough cleaning and adjustment video for the chain itself. So I'll do that in another video. All right, so now that that's clean, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the Yamaha Lube on the road chain lube. I use this or a mold tool. I use the mold tool one as well, but I've got the Yamaha Lube on hand, so I'll just use that. We're gonna take the lube, and we're actually gonna go along the back end over here as we're turning the wheel, and then we'll get lube on the inside on both of the O-rings. And then we'll come to this side and we'll get some lube on the inside of the actual chain as well. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, we've gone around and there you have it. That is the quick chain lube. Ooh, that sounds nice. That sounds nice. Oh yeah. All right, so as you can see, there's still some oil dripping out right there. It's still coming out from the actual crankcase. What I'm gonna do, because you see a bunch of oil, when you take the oil filter out, you see a bunch of oil spill down to the bottom of here. It gets over everything on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some brake cleaner. And really quickly, I'm just gonna spray into this area just so I can get some oil cleaned up here, as obviously it looks like it's almost done dripping or anything. So I'm gonna clean it all up, get a rag, clean this all up, and then we'll put the oil filter on. All right, time to put the oil filter on. So here's the oil filter right here. When you actually take it out of the box, the OEM filter does have a little bit of oil or lubricant on it. I generally like to just dip my finger onto the top of the oil pan right there, and then I just come across and get some oil on the rubber seal portion right here, just to get that nice little seal when you do put it back. And I'm just gonna by hand just push it in and place it by hand into the oil filter spot, and go ahead and screw that back on hand tight for now. There we go. So that's hand tight. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my filter wrench. Doesn't have to be tight whatsoever. I'm just doing it just snug, and that is good. Okay, so now that the oil filter wrench is back on, we're gonna grab the hoses that I put aside, put it back down to where it was, and then we're gonna take the shift shaft and put the shift shaft back on. Okay, so I've put back the Allen bolt into its place, put the rubber seal over top of it once again, make sure that's nice and sealed. Got the shift shaft back where it's supposed to be. Got the hoses back where they're supposed to be as well, and routing out to the side over here. And the next step will be to actually take the drain bolt. We're gonna take the drain bolt, put it back, and then let's go ahead and put the new oil in. One thing I usually do is I actually take the crush washer from the drain bolt and actually replace it with the new one. However, I seem to have misplaced the actual crush washer, so I'm just gonna use that one again. Does it necessarily need to be changed? Technically, yes, but again, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it, unless you see that it's broken or something and your oil's leaking. But I'm gonna actually just go ahead and put that right back in. Okay, so I take the oil drain bolt right here, I put it back on. I'm gonna actually tighten it by hand. It's gonna hand tight. Then I'm gonna go ahead and grab my torque wrench. I'm gonna go ahead and torque this to 32 foot-pounds. Don't want to over torque it. Do not over torque it and want to crack that or the case. But yeah, 32 foot-pounds. That's it. That's all you need, 32 foot-pounds. Okay, it's time now to put the oil in the bike. What I'm gonna be using is the 10W40 from Yamaha Lube. I'm gonna be using the full synthetic 10W40. It comes in the oil change kit along with the filter. All right, now that the drain plug is back in the bike and tightened, we are good to go to put the oil in the bike. I usually like to take a couple of rags here and there and obviously just put it down over here just in case there is some spillage. I'm gonna get my spout here, and then we'll go ahead and put in the oil. It's gonna be 2.6 liters with the oil filter. Because we changed the oil filter, it's 2.6 liters. Okay, so we've got our 2.6 liters in the bike. I'm just waiting for the rest of the oil to come down from the spout here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cap this guy off right here. Don't have to tighten it or anything like that, just hand tight for now. All right, what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna turn the bike on. We're gonna let it run for about 35 minutes, get it nice and warm, let it splash everywhere, let it get everywhere in the bike. And then we're gonna turn the bike off. Once we turn the bike off, we're gonna let it sit for about a minute or two, let all that oil come back down, let it settle, and then we'll check the level with the dipstick. All right, so ran the bike for about 3 to 5 minutes. I probably let it for about 4. Turned the bike off afterwards, let it sit for about 2 minutes, took the dipstick out. So the dipstick is now clean. As you can see, it is clean. And we'll go ahead and put it in. So with the R6, you don't have to actually screw it in. You just put it down to where it sits, and then you take it out. and you check the oil level. So we are, as you can see right there, we are at half. So we are good to go. Put the dipstick back into where it's supposed to be. This time screw it all the way down, and that is it. So that is good to go. All right, that is it. Only thing left to do is obviously clean up any oil spill residue anywhere, clean up the bottles, clean up everything else, and put the fairing back on. I've got the fairing right over there. Put the fairing back on, and we are good to go. Yeah, awesome. Oil change done. Ready for next season. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's it for today's video with the oil change on the R6. If you guys have any questions or just want to say hello, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell for future videos for maintenance stuff with the R6. Until the next one, guys.